hit the record button here. I'm officially recording. Closing my YouTube tabs of Northern Lion.
Recording?
Yeah, that's what we're here for. We set a time to start recording the episode, and god damn it, we're actually starting relatively well on time for
Look at
what
us
we
fucking go.
Is everyone recording at this point?
I am.
Bridget?
I am.
Yay!
Bridget, how are you feeling? Do you feel like you're up to leading the conversation about this movie?
Yeah. That's like a genuine question I was going to ask. Like, do you feel well enough with your headache to handle
sure.
it? Okay.
I mean, I was just watching how you turn a death cult into idols, so...
What? What are you talking about?
Is this a new anime I haven't heard about?
Oh, probably. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you have heard about it, but it's a Zeshu, which is the one where the animator dies by eating rotten clams.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which, as the episodes have gone on, are more about, like, weirdly the appreciation of traditional animation.
Okay.
Like each episode has like an homage to a certain like famous animation style. The first one was the creatures from Nausicaa animated by Hideki Anno. The next episode was an Atano Circus. The next one was just Tiger Mask.
Oh, yeah. Like, full on, it was a wrestling episode?
It defeated it by wrestling, yes.
Awesome.
And the wrestling inspired the princess in the anime to also be Tiger Mask. She was so inspired by the wrestling that she, too, wishes to be a wrestling hero.
God, like, the more, like, the first episode did nothing for me. Your description of the second one just being an homage to the Itano Circus isn't selling me on it, but you talking about the third one just being an homage to Tiger Mask is like,
But that's
do
how they
I
get
want to
you.
watch this show?
Like, you're going to watch that one episode with the gimmick, and you're going to enjoy it. And then every other episode, you're going to be like...
This is why I don't watch new anime until it is, like, no longer new. Like, I tend to end up giving stuff, like, a full, like, 3 to 5 years before I actually watch it. Just, like, how well has this aged in the public conscious before I enjoy it?
I should know that I did a visual thing on a podcast. I made a blobfish face. Like...
I think the silence...
I thought it was like the Squidward
spoke.
face.
It's like 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. You know? Anyways, this is gonna be like the most anime episode that we have ever done in discussing the movie that we're gonna discuss.
Unlimited anime.
Unlimited anime!
By the way, Crunchyroll was recently hacked, so change your password.
Great.
I got good news for you. I don't have my Crunchyroll account anymore. Or at the very least, it's not tied to a payment method that works.
Fuck, I haven't logged in. God damn it, I haven't logged into Crunchyroll in years at this point.
But wait, is your account tied to a payment method that actually works?
It is. Wait,
Shit.
that card might be expired. I should check.
There you go. What were the last 4 digits on it and the like funny 3 numbers on the back?
It was 6969 and the 3 numbers were 420.
Oh, okay. All right.
It was a very cool debit card.
Yeah, if you give that out, I hear Crunchyroll Hime comes to your house and
sucks you
Oh,
off.
I can finally meet Crunchyroll Hime?
See,
Yeah.
I
watch
hate
anime
having
together?
that card.
my
I hate
favorite.
having that card because I couldn't tell anyone that I have it.
No, yeah.
Like, you would be alone with that. You'd be like, this is so cool, but I can't tell anyone.
Truly the Midas touch
Yeah.
of credit card numbers. Which is a weird sentence that I just said out loud.
Sure.
The funniest thing is when Crunchyroll made a bunch of Nendroids of Crunchyroll Hime, and then they realized nobody wanted it, and so they were like, "Oh, you spent $5 at the store? Here's a Nendroid." Which, if you don't
Please
know,
get this out of our fucking warehouses. They're filling it up.
Which, if you don't know, Nendroids at minimum are like $40 to $80 at this point. So, like, the
giving them
idea
away.
of...
It's like back in the olden days of podcasts. I still remember, here's a podcast talking about a podcast, Fast Karate, when they got like, they were getting popular enough that they were like doing merch. But they bought like a bunch of shirts, but they bought too many shirts. So for like years, Zoe just had like boxes of fucking shirts crowding. Before the advent of like, you know, your Redbubble that would just like make it on demand or whatever.
Now it's just making me think of me and Evie have been watching through Girls Band Cry, and I think like the last episode, the main character made merch for a band that didn't even have a name, and nobody bought it, of course.
What we view's connected by cast or crew, deciding the next film, that's the gist. Put it on the list.
No, that's a pretty good bit.
That show's fun.
Speaking of pretty good bits, this is Put It On The List.
Hey, welcome everyone.
The queer film podcast where every episode we discuss a movie and the next time around we have to connect that film by either cast or crew. My name is Jay.
My name is Bree.
I'm Evie.
I'm Bridget.
You're currently debilitated by a headache at the moment.
That's fine. I'll live. The adrenaline.
I'll try not to
will-
yell too much.
I mean, you can yell, but your like voice is capped out, so it doesn't really.
Yeah, our voice is capped out, our mic volume is turned relatively down,
That's
and we're
fair,
here
yeah.
to discuss films, because last time on Put It On The List, Bree, you had us watch the phenomenal The First Slam Dunk,
That might have been my favorite animated film of all time.
and Bridget, you took us to the film we're going to be discussing today.
I took us to, you know, we're getting in the modern era, the most recent, finally a 20.
The newest movie we've watched on this podcast.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah.
Since Killers of the Flower Moon.
That's right.
Uma Musume, Pretty Derby, Beginning of a New Era.
That's right.
We'll discuss it in more detail,
A
but
phenomenal animated film that we'll get into.
Bridget, what have you been up to since the last time we recorded?
As I said, I'm watching Zeshu, which is basically the only new show of the anime season I'm watching, because there's nothing.
For sure.
Let me see. I beat the Dead Rising remaster, which is Dead Rising, but has quality of life things.
Which is great for Dead Rising, because that was a weird-ass video game when that first came out.
I mean, it still is, but...
It's weird to consider how like less weird it is now in the age of roguelikes and such.
Yeah.
Nextlander were talking about that during their Game of the Year discussion, and like I never really considered like Dead Rising in the context of roguelikes. It seemed like it was too much of like the runs were too long for me to like put it in that same context that most people think of roguelikes in.
I mean, yeah, for those who somehow don't know, which may be possible, it's an old game at this point.
And it's a movie podcast.
Yeah. And I'm sorry that we are not talking about the live action Dead Rising movie.
Starring Rob Riggle as Frank West.
Yeah. Sadly, that's not happening right now. Maybe look forward to it in the future if any of us
Stay
are
tuned.
insane.
I didn't even know that movie existed.
Oh. Did you know they're rebooting Resident Evil again? It's been rebooted 3 times!
Hold on. Take it back. We're talking about Dead Rising at the moment.
This is already going to be an episode with like a lot of tangents, so we gotta try and keep on track.
Dead Rising. It's a game where you're trapped in a mall filled with zombies, and the main thing about it is that it runs on like a consistent sort of always running kind of timer. And at certain points of the timer is when like you have to complete missions that'll help you figure out what's going on or save people or get new stuff, whatever. Kind of as you play, you're getting XP and leveling up, and that gives you more health. And like the idea is that the first time you play it, you're not going to be able to do everything. Like you're spinning plates and those plates are going to fall because you just don't have enough health. You don't have enough room to carry weapons because like
you also just don't know how the systems work.
Exactly. But the idea is that, you know, you fail a couple times, but every time you fail, you get stronger and you get better and you can like get closer and closer like on each successive attempt, which is, you know, that's where it shares a similarity to like a roguelike.
But anyways, talking about, what do you mean they're rebooting Resident Evil again?
They're doing another reboot movie. It's been rebooted 3 times since the Resident Evil cinematic, the Joviverse happened.
Has it been rebooted that many times?
Yes.
I think they had one attempt at a reboot, and that did not succeed.
No.
Because they had like the Resident Evil
would,
like TV series.
This would be the 3rd time.
Oh, that's not they reboot. They've tried rebooting it 3 times. This is their 3rd attempt at a Resident Evil franchise.
No,
because the first one was successful.
No, there's the first one, then they rebooted it, then they rebooted it, and now they're rebooting it.
Wait, what's the then they rebooted it? Because
I can only account for one
series.
reboot.
Yeah, there was the TV series that they did. That was
well, there was a
successful.
movie. There was another movie like last year.
Yeah.
But I assume that was connected to the TV show.
No.
Oh, okay.
When does the show reboot get a reboot? I would watch that.
Never.
I feel like we're probably due for that, like in the next like 5 years.
Like,
or
especially
something
now
like
that like early computer graphics are hitting the nostalgia wave. Like,
yeah, that's actually a very fair point.
it might happen.
I mean, instead of doing that, what you can actually do is just basically republish the show, because as long as you have the files, you can, you know, up-res it to the new format.
So that's what Bridget's been up to. Evie, what have you been up to since we last recorded?
Still trying to move, still unemployed, but as of the recording, that might be going in a cool direction. We'll see.
Hell yeah.
But,
Yourself,
you
man.
know,
Let's go.
still keep it on.
You finally caved.
I did. I joined in a move that like you could really only describe as self-destructive. I signed up for Blue Sky and I've been using that. I've been trying to keep the stuff I follow limited to just like cool, good, fun stuff and like people I like. But I don't know. It finds its way in. The horrors are unceasing and everywhere.
I mean, yes, Bridget.
I just wanted to state, so the TV show is not part of the same universe. That is a reboot. So the TV show is the reboot, and then there's Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City, which is another reboot.
I thought that was the TV show.
No.
That's where I got fucked up on. Okay.
And then the new film that is being co-produced by PlayStation Productions, whatever the fuck that means. By the way, I didn't know, apparently they were planning to have a crossover with the Underworld series at some point, but that never happened.
God, what a better world we would have lived in if that had come to pass.
I just want to note, there's also apparently a recurring character in these Resident Evil movies that was just called Kmart.
Huh?
Anyway, that's what I've been up to.
For sure. I mean, I was gonna say on the Blue Sky thing, Bree had like a similar thing at a certain point.
Yeah, part of what I've been up to is I heard that the American government was telling everyone not to get a red note, so I did as an act of malice. And you know what? It was really great. Like it's a lot chiller. They have a lot more like pro Luigi memes. You can say that like genocide is bad there without getting banned on like the reboot of the other thing. And you know, and really it was like, oh, this is kind of cool. You know, just like cool videos and corgis and Luigi, the shit I want to see. But I gotta tell you, the rest of TikTok is getting on there, and it's all VTubers and ads and shitty things again. And it's like, well,
I ended up
again.
describing it to you though, that like, because you complained to me last night about it like turning into just like politics and VTubers, and I had to be like, so it's an algorithm based feed. I don't want to blame it on you. However, by liking all of those like Luigi
I wasn't
things,
clicking
you're gonna...
on the VTubers.
That part I can't speak
That's
to.
the
That would
algorithm. It knows you're a VTuber.
Yeah, it is hearing you talk about being a VTuber through the microphone on your phone and being like, I got it.
Listen, if you're a VTuber who I don't actively talk to, like, or chat in your thing, I don't like you. You suck. You have no personality.
I don't think
and
a
all you do is
VTuber
go to places and post places just to promote yourself as opposed to actually contributing to any kind of conversation.
Great.
Yes?
We gotta stay focused.
Oh, I'm not allowed to go on a tangent. Okay. Anyway,
I don't
the other
think
thing I'm doing...
algorithms are controlled by VTubers.
It's my turn. So the other thing I've been up to is that I went ahead and I finally streamed all the way through Iconoclasts, which is a really fucking good game. It's one of those, like, I'm going to be thinking about this for a while. I really loved it. Really good story, really good gameplay. Like any game, it does have some imperfect areas of where it's just like, I wish this would have been explained better, but it was really good.
Yeah,
it was a really solid game.
Might be on your top 5 for 2025.
It might be. Of the games that I play this year, it might be up there.
For me, I've just still been, able to enjoy my life now that I have a new job that I'm legally obligated to not take home with me. You know what's great about working in a, like, medical field? HIPAA. A thing that I came to the discovery of is realizing, like, oh, because of HIPAA, I literally cannot talk about like any shitty people I have to deal with throughout my day outside of work. So it's like perfect. It's just like, oh yeah, once I step out of that, work is out of my life. It's done.
Wait, you're saying that Scrubs wasn't completely canonical?
How do you mean?
Oh, sorry, the old like TV show.
No, I know you're talking about Scrubs.
You're saying that wasn't perfectly accurate to like real life?
The idea that you would take work home with you?
Well, they're always talking about each other. It was a sitcom, but like,
well, that's talking about each other. I'm talking about the patients.
Oh,
because I'm in essentially a customer service thing. Like, I am interfacing with the patients all day long, but I cannot legally talk about them like in any sort of detail because
that's good. It gives you that division.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Awesome.
It's been great for that. This weekend I went to like a record store, we picked out a couple of records. We grabbed a couple. I went outside without my phone to go record shopping and grab some slices of pizza with Brie.
It was nice.
It was really nice. I was just having like a fun conversation with her while we ate some za, and I was like, damn, this is what life is supposed to be.
Yes, I'm happy to see you present and smiling and in the world.
Yeah.
It makes me really happy.
It rules.
Yeah.
Turns out, not worrying about work outside of work.
Not being textable at all times without being paid for it.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
Yeah. Bought a couple movie tickets for next month.
Oh, yes.
Gonna see Noroi, Daisies, Wild Zero. Shit's gonna be fun.
Hell yeah.
But that's what I've been up to. As for the podcast, as always, it's time for some icebreaker questions. We've gotten a refresh on the icebreaker questions after my last desperate plea for questions on Blue Sky.
They took pity on us. Yay!
Which, by the way, put it on the list.bsky.social, put it on the list.neocities.org. You could find us there. And you can send us questions there. First couple ones we have are more comments from Owen as opposed to questions.
Shout out to Owen.
Shout out to Owen, IRL, on B-Sky. He says, this isn't a question. I'm just using this space to record my copyrightable, trademarkable ideas because I don't want to pay postage on a self-addressed envelope. Osmosis Jones porn parody. Famosis Jones.
All right, noted.
Solid.
You get the golf clap for that one, Owen. Good job.
Anyone wanting to produce this into a full thing, go ahead and contact them.
Mm-hmm. Next comment.
Do we know if there is in fact no porn parodies of Osmosis Jones?
Not
I
willing
don't
to check
want to
on
know, but it looks like Jay's Googling it
I'm
now.
checking it right now. There is a user on Reddit called Famosis Jones.
Well, Owen might have to talk with that person first.
Begin the legal deliberations early. It'll be easier to work it out.
Anyways, we have another one, and this one's more of an actual comment and not him just dropping a joke into the box.
Okay.
This comment from Owen says, on the video games episode, Bridget noted the sudden influx of Balatro, Yuri, and Yaoi art. My theory is there's a large number of people who only learned about Balatro because of the Game Awards and other GOTY shows, who didn't notice its initial launch because they're too busy drawing dungeon meshy porn. See, I never saw I never saw any of the Balatro, like Yuri and Yaoi art, so I didn't even know it existed, so I can't compare, like, what the dungeon meshy porn artists were drawing before or after Balatro.
I mean, I don't know if it's like a 1-to-1 because like Dungeon Meshi, I've seen, you know, porn art of various spectrums. You know, you got your buff dwarf porn, you got
You got your wires crossed, Caligula.
I feel like the dungeon meshy pornography was just like the default state of porn artists in 2024.
Which is a pretty good state to be in.
It is.
Great show.
Great show, great characters.
Great faces, you know.
Yeah, yes, very good faces in Dungeon Meshi. Question from Owen. This is my favorite kind of question. It's a food question.
Ooh.
That's why Ziggy is up by the microphone, because he knows we're talking about food.
Get down, cat.
Owen asks, what's your favorite type of bread? I got a loaf of lightly seeded white sourdough from the grocery that I don't like shopping at because it has trash vegetables and I think it changed my life. I should have taken a photo, but after experiencing one slice, I immediately consumed the entire thing. I mean, Owen, you basically put in there the answer to my question. I'm a fucking sourdough girl for life. Like, nothing is better than, like, a prime loaf of sourdough where like the crust is like just crunchy enough that it doesn't hurt your teeth, but you get that like satisfying like crunch to it.
A round, crusty San Franciscan one is like my absolute peak.
But you have that, and then like the innards of it are like just almost like buttery soft. Like you bite into it and you're like, oh,
that spongy, wonderful consistency.
Yeah.
But with like just enough kind of egg like noshiness in there to just But like I will say a close second for me is a marble rye, and the reason it isn't higher is because it has one utilization, and that's making a perfect Reuben. I don't know where I would use that bread anywhere else for the life of me. But yeah, no, sourdough for me too.
For
sourdough.
sure.
What about y'all?
I don't have fresh bread enough to really have like a preference, but I don't know. I usually just like have some wheat, whole wheat, whatever with my sandwiches.
Whole wheat's good. Yeah, that's a solid pick. Bridget, how about you? You got a favorite bread?
None that can like be got regularly. I mean, white mountain bread is pretty good, or just like, you know, have a fucking
What kind of... Oh, sorry. You finish your thing.
or just, you know, have a baguette.
Baguette's very good. What is a white mountain bread? I've never heard of that before.
It's just like it's like a white bread. It has like a lot of flour on it.
For sure.
It doesn't taste.
Is it more a specific like just brand of white bread?
No,
Oh no, it's a particular kind.
it's a
I've
kind.
never heard of that one. I'll have to look that up.
Okay.
Cool.
In that case, one more question before. So there's two questions here that are pertinent to the discussion of the movie that we're going to be talking about today. One of them I want to get out of the way now. The other one I'm going to save for once we talk about the film.
Okay.
This question here is from Owen, who asks, would you rather be a horse space girl, like not space as in you're from space, but it's horse space girl, or a horse girl, no space?
What is the differentiation?
Horse girl is a woman who is very obsessed with horses.
Okay.
to the point that like I would not want to be that kind, because you're falling into the realm of like, you're a white girl and I know it's hard, but you really got to stop banging dogs.
That's
but with horses,
AKA the Matsume
probably-
Shiro territory.
Yeah, you probably have to listen to country music, and I'm not going to do that. So I would say, yeah, go for Horse Girl.
that was a joke specifically targeted at me. No one else on this podcast. And the other one is the horse girl, like the girls from Uma Musume.
That would be like the girls from Uma Musume.
Same.
Yeah, you get the ability to run really fast, and you get cute ears and a tail. I don't think there's like a downside. Unless you're one of the horse girls who actually can't run fast, I guess. But you still get a tail.
You don't have to perform. You don't have to be a part of it. Like, they all love running, but like I feel like getting into the competitive leagues of it is like a choice. I don't have to.
Yeah, that is a choice.
I could be a cute horse girl that sits around all day eating carrots, watching porn. I can do whatever the fuck I want.
Hey, if it would allow me to like running, that's already great.
You know, that's
I don't even have to be competitive at it. I just like have to want to do it, which is like
think how much healthier we would all be. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So your answer, Evie, is also Uma Musume style horse girl.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like horse girls that I've known in my life. There's one person who like I worked at, a grown ass woman who I worked with when I was working as an auditor, and she was like my kind of mentor instructor, and she was like she liked horses, but I got the impression that she didn't really like. She wasn't moneyed enough to have any. And so she made do by being like, I drive a Mustang, and it's like, oh, that's a sad place to be in. You don't want to be a horse girl who can't ride horses.
Aww.
Purely aspirational. But...
can only ride a horse by name.
Oh.
That's. Speaking of sad existences, now we have to talk about the movie Uma Musume, Pretty Derby, Beginning of a New Era.
Bridget, tell us about
Wait, no. Okay. I'm going to say, Bridget, I not only want you to give us a cursory summary of this Uma Musume movie, I also want to grant you the floor up front to talk about the things you like about this movie, because I don't know, I can't speak for Evie, but I know that at least on this side of the call that we're on, we're not going to have a lot of positive things to say about this film.
Yeah.
So I would like you to be able to like say the nice things up front.
Horse?
Is that your summary?
Okay, so when this movie was announced, I was very curious, because I don't know if you know, but Cygames makes weird anime. And this is
how about you tell us who Cygames is? Because that name means nothing to probably most people.
So, I don't know what it is.
Cygames makes their bread and butter primarily on gacha games of various notorieties and stuff. Your Grand Blues.
Grand Blue Fantasy is your big one.
Bahamut's, I forget what one of those other ones is called, but you know, either way, you're rolling for shit.
Uma Musume is one of those.
And Uma Musume is one of those. The weird thing is like, for the most part, any of their adaptations of gacha games has like tenuous connections to the actual game at best, besides any of the Grand Blue adaptations.
Yeah, like Bahamut, like famously, like its first anime is like supposedly very, very good. I've never watched it, but I have heard it is a pretty good show.
Yeah, it's very funny if you were to watch it, because only the first episode alone makes the tiniest reference of what the actual gacha game is.
Well, let's not get too bogged down in it. So we're talking about Cygames.
So, you know, some of the things they've made is, you know, as we said, Bahamut, various Uma Musume stuff, Zombieland Saga, everyone's favorite. I'm not.
So, what were you gonna say? Sorry, I cut you off. You're not what?
I'm not gonna. Don't do this when I'm talking.
Sorry, I was doing the hurry up motion.
Jay was doing a get on with it motion with her hand.
Only because you started to repeat the same thing that you just said.
But basically, Cygames, in addition to making gacha games, also very into anime.
Yeah, anime adaptations of their own MOBA properties.
But not just that.
Zombieland Saga is not based on anything, and neither is Akiba Maid Wars, and neither is Big Brave Bang Braven.
Okay.
That's not even what the name of the show is.
I know it's Bang
Braver.
Braven.
The show I made up isn't based on anything.
Continue with your point, talking about Cygames and their...
So that is why I was originally interested in this, despite not having seen any other of Horse, because they are, at least compared to other studios that adapt their gacha properties and stuff, they are more willing to be loosey-goosey and make weirder...
Well, here... talking about Horse, little bit of context to put in here is they did make a TV series for Uma Musume. Like, wasn't that basically the first thing before they even put out the gacha?
Yeah, there's like 2 seasons of that.
Yeah, and I want to say, like, I watched the first episode of that show, and I did think it was fun. That is a complimentary thing that I will say about Uma Musume, is I watched the first episode of that and I did think it was fun, because at the very least in the context of that show, it very thoroughly commits to like the world building of the concept. What if you took racing horses and made them anthropomorphic like anime girls? Like the whole thing with like carrots and everything. They literally have phones designed in such a way that like the earpiece of it goes up higher because they don't have normal human ears. They have horse ears. So those are like at the top of their head. Like that's committing to the bit.
They have their tea with like 100 fucking sugar cubes. It's like, all right. That's cute.
Like
sure.
It's if I'm going to sit through that concept, it's like at the very least you are committing to your what is effectively joke in this situation. So that is the thing that I just want to talk about. You can continue with your overview.
So then we come to this movie, who has a different so one of the things with a lot of the Uma Musume adaptations is like they apparently just don't have the same studios or directors associated with them. So in this case, this is one of the first ones where it is by Cygames Pictures, which is the same people who made Bravern, among other things.
Sure.
And it's like only the second thing that the director Ken Yamamoto did. Like the second like directorial project he had, because the only other thing he's worked on is like a Pokemon thing.
The only other thing he worked on was OVA connected to Pokemon Legends, the one. Other than that, this is the second thing he has directed, and obviously this is the first time he's doing a theatrical film. If you look at his body of work, he is just basically an animation guy.
And I'll say it shows in the movie, in the final product of the movie that you watch.
Like, he's worked on Devilman Crybaby, Promare, Mob Psycho. I guess he worked on some of the recent Castlevania stuff. And then writing this is Kyoko Yoshimura, who has a very bizarre catalog of work.
Take us through some of the examples.
She wrote specifically, if we're keeping it in Cygames, she specifically wrote like season 2 of the Grand Blue anime, which is apparently better. She did write Garo Vanishing Line, which is the Garo that takes place in America with the guy eating like fistful of burgers because he's American. He gotta.
This means nothing to the people on this podcast. The important thing to note about Garo the Vanishing Line is that is another show that is like well regarded.
Yes.
In the same way that Bahamut first show is well regarded.
So I have a question. Do you know of the video games she wrote?
No, take me through it.
You and Brie have beaten on-screen stream the video game.
Just tell us what it is.
So she wrote 22 episodes of Sonic X before being taken off to help fix up some of the script of Sonic 06.
Oh, that poor woman.
And
Let's hear some of the other things she's done.
And then she fully wrote Sonic Unleashed and then never wrote Sonic stuff again. But
what are some of the
best.
other non-Sonic video games she's done?
And also stuff like Last Exile. She or the second one, the one they made like a while ago. So like she's somebody who is like can be really good to okay, there's like nothing like pointing in a certain direction as far as like writing chops go. What?
Well, just with the examples you've given, it's not sterling.
Yeah, which I feel like is something I would say about this film, but continue along with your overview that you are wanting to go through.
Jay trying very hard to score I'm not being mean points and then being very mean.
She's very good at that.
Anyways, this movie depicts the real-life horsing events from 2000 to 2001 in which Jungle Pocket basically joins up with distance running in the Uma Musume world, because I guess there's like different categories of races, because before she was freestyle.
Right. Yeah.
She might have been like, that may be more like a sprinting versus like a longer form race like the ones that we see in the movie. I don't know. I don't know anything about horse racing.
Yeah. I guess without the exception in the beginning of the movie where it takes place in 1995. But so basically in the shortest possible way, is basically taking a like shonen protagonist who's like, I'm gonna be the very best, and going through that as she deals with the fact that she really isn't the very best. Like most of the time, she really only wins like a few races, and just basically dealing with her emotional state with her rival Takion, who what?
Nothing. Continue. Please continue.
Basically,
her rival.
Yeah, go ahead, Evie.
No, I was just trying to. I was helping you on ramp back into discussion of the movie.
Instead of getting distracted by my judging stares.
You have a lot to say. Go on.
But yeah, it is a sports movie about, dealing with that state of just trying to get through something and then not having basically limiters placed upon yourself of
the mental hurdle.
Yeah, the mental hurdle of like even if you do accomplish something great, you do not think you did.
I wouldn't so much say that is the mental hurdle that she struggles with in the movie. The mental hurdle is more the mental hurdle that you go through in any kind of competitive field where there are always bigger fish out in the sea. So, like, even when you accomplish something, it's not that the thing you accomplished wasn't good. It's that there is always a person in front of you that is doing better than you are. And you're saying, like, shit, I'm never going to be able to be better than that person. did you see the fucking things that they were doing up front there? Like that's more of how I would characterize the mental struggle she goes through in this film. Would you care to talk about more of the positive things, or is that
well, I mean, the positive things about the movie is the animation is very pretty, especially in the racing scenes where they get a little bit more experimental with the animation. Personally, I do like Jungle Pocket just as like a character.
Okay. Is that all you have to say before we kind of come in and start like bouncing stuff off of you? Because
sure,
I'm very genuinely trying to allow you the space before I come in and be mean to the movie. Like I was kind of low key over the last week or so, kind of dreading talking about this movie just because I feel like I'm gonna be such a fucking downer and killjoy in this discussion because of how much I did not like it. So I just don't want to take away from you saying nice things here, because you enjoyed this film to the point of like putting it on the same level as the first Slam Dunk. Like you would say that, right?
Yeah. I mean, for me, it connected with me enough, and also, you know, I'm always a fan of like cool animated movies.
For sure. Mm-hmm. We remember the discussion about X 1999.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about the viewing experience we had over Discord when we all watched this movie together. Because
what a day that was.
I will say, when I was going into this movie, pretty much from the point that you said that this was going to be your film of choice, I was not going in with my good time hat on, because I knew exactly the kind of film that I was going to be dealing with when I was going into it. So all of you can remember how during the whole film I was basically just sitting there like leaning back in my chair, no expression on my face, like
stoically letting it run off you.
Yeah, like just very much not being affected on it. But Evie, Bree,
yeah,
you both did your best to put on your good time hats.
We came in going, I'm just going to watch a happy...
Wait, Evie has the thing.
I do not co-sign with the nomenclature of the good time hat.
Really?
Because like when we say the good time hat, it feels like I'm choosing to turn my brain off and being like, you know, I'm just gonna chill and enjoy the movie. That's generally not how I approach watching movies in general, and especially not for stuff that we watch for the podcast here. Like,
that's the only way that I can enjoy the Sonic films. It's a debuff, you know?
We can't talk about the Sonic films here.
Not till someone invokes it, but go ahead.
But like I came to this film, I wanted to be made a believer. I want to like the horse girls. Let me be clear about that. I want to enjoy the horse girl to the point where like I've heard that like the second season of Uma Musume is good, and like I would like to watch it, honestly. Like it made me interested in like this type of story, but the way that it was presented, but the way that the story was put together and presented, like I wasn't very into it. Like I felt like what I needed here, I needed someone like this movie suffers from being right after the first Slam Dunk. Because if you remember when we were talking about the first Slam Dunk, you get that bit, about Ryota, and then like the intro, it's just so full of energy, and like it is like perfectly engineered and laser focused to like make these dudes your dudes. You don't like, you've never heard of them before this moment, but they are your favorite basketball players in the world for the next 90 minutes.
Yeah, and it was very good at doing that.
Yeah, but like the problem is that like I I didn't find that purchase in this movie. I wasn't able to find a character, or like I wasn't able to find arcs that I could just like grab onto and be like, okay, these are people I can root for and like I could stick with, because like it all felt very it felt very flat to me.
So this kind of leads me to talking about really what's going to be one of my big talking points with this film. So thank you for that transition, Evie. So I need to talk about moe here.
I gotta go, y'all. I'll be back later.
No, don't leave. Well, specifically like waifu culture and stuff like that, and how that has evolved over like the last like couple of decades and stuff. And like you have to talk about like the concept of like how the appeal of like moe waifu characters is like charm points. Like it's very kind of surface level characterizations or aspects of these characters that a person sees and they're like, oh, that thing is neat. Not so much like that is necessarily my dude, but that thing is neat. That girl has cat ears. That's cute. I like that. This girl is spunky. That's cool. That makes my heart burn up. And you know, it's those specific kinds of things have cycled out of like, you know, more popular culture and been delegated to like the MOBA gay like outlet at this point. And that area is honestly perfect for that. Like it takes advantage of like gacha games and like that kind of Skinner box mentality of like pulling for like doing like microtransactions to like try and get like JPEGs of those characters that you really like, all those unique different characters that you like. But you know what is not a good place for like pulling out that characterization, for like focusing that characterization? A 2-hour feature-length film. Like I, on a base level, like Jungle Pocket as a character. I am a fan of like the flipped gender like shonen protagonist, like the spunky girl who's like a blowhard and everything. She has nothing going on with her as a character because her characterization from the MOBA gay is, I'm the strongest. I'm the strongest.
Yeah.
Multiple times throughout this movie, she has conversations with characters that is just her saying like, yeah, I'm the strongest. I challenge you to a fight. Shobuda. And it's just like, it happens ad nauseum, and there's nothing there. There are characters in this movie that, so to jump to the end of this movie, it ends with like a fucking idol performance.
And every one of us said out loud, oh, fuck you.
Well, here's the thing. The main reason that I got incensed with that, because I don't dislike that stuff. I love Idolmaster.
Idolmaster is good.
I think Idolmaster is cool. I am willing to admit that in a recorded format right here.
Sure. We have figurines.
I get incensed with that because fully 2 of the characters that are featured in that idol sequence are basically not characters in this movie. Manhattan Cafe, she gets a little bit of characterization. The other girl, the fact that she is there felt like a joke. I don't remember her name.
Densetsu Flame.
I don't remember her name. If you are trying to get me invested in these like very like commercially consumable anime girls, you need to at least like present them in such a way where they are characters that stick out in my brain. Like I could name like 5 to 7 like Idolmaster girls like right now who like in the same way that Evie talks about like the slam dunk guys, like I could say, no, those are my girls. Like, those girls there, they fucking rule.
Yeah.
To be fair,
No one in... What?
To be fair, I don't remember the names of the Slam Dunk Boys either, but that's less of remembering name. I'm just bad at remembering characters' names.
Well, it's less about like the hard remembering their names, but you get that like fire in you that like those same characters have, where you're like, no, those are my dudes.
Yeah.
But you get to the end of this movie and you're like, yeah, this is what you're showing me right now?
Yeah.
Like, that is why I get incensed at the end of that movie. And to kind of talk about, like, sidetrack and talk about Idolmaster for a second here, like, here's the advantage with Idolmaster. The Idolmaster TV shows are good. Like, they are at least okay shows. And the reason why is because the format for that works better for the kinds of characters that they are presenting there. Like this, I need to finish my point. I'll let you talk after,
I've
Bridget.
been wanting to talk for like 5 pages.
I'm
so
sorry,
please.
Bree. This is what I was talking about before we
I'm
started.
gonna pee. Tell me when you're done. I'm listening.
Okay, you got it. But like the format works better in television for talking about these kinds of characters because it is like nice, short, 20 minutes. You can really flesh out like the charm point that appeals to whatever like niche otaku is like really into that specific character that they are going to focus on in this episode. It doesn't work in a film like this because it's like trying to stretch, it's trying to pull a rubber band as far as humanly possible. Like eventually it just kind of breaks from the suspension and like returning to the viewing experience. Like Evie, you were trying to go into this movie wanting to be able to like the Horse Girl movie, but we hit the halfway point and we were having a moment of characterization with these characters and you threw your arms up, rolling your eyes into the back of your head and out loud said, how long is left in this movie? If a film is drawing that kind of reaction out of a person, I think it's failed as a film.
It reminded me of Freddy Got Fingered.
It did. It did remind me of Freddy Got Fingered.
I hate to invoke that comparison because I don't think the Horse Girl movie deserves it in terms of like it doesn't deserve to get like lumped in with Freddy Got Fingered, but it's just like
Freddy had more time before you came to that conclusion that you're like, oh god, how long has it been? We were not very far into this movie at all.
But well,
I care to disagree. But
well, the it's less of the time and more like there's a moment where it felt like a climax for the character in terms of like how it was presented. You know, she has this like, and I believe we're talking about the moment where it's like, you know, after she wins that first big race and like she like after Tachyon
Tachyon has dropped out.
Yeah, she's already dropped out and like she finishes the race and she's like starts roaring because she knows that like, you know, Tachyon's still out there and like that was a good moment. And then the movie kept going and I did not understand why.
Well, remember, at the end of the movie, basically that same race happens and she does it again. And it's like, yep, that was another time that she won a race. There didn't feel at the end like there was any real definitive point.
Like, here's the thing. I understand why it kept going. This movie did not need to be 2 hours long.
Yeah.
You could have chipped this down to like 80 minutes and it would have been more passable. The fact that this movie is nearly 2 hours long is I don't want to say it.
It's a waste of my time.
It's kind of a waste of my time. They take the time to have a beach episode in the back half of this film. They didn't need to do that.
There is a beach segment, yeah.
Yeah, we're at the beach, and we're talking about like, oh man, what a race. Yeah, but there's another one, and I gotta be stronger. Then they're at a fucking fair. They're at one of those little festivals, and they're like, man, that was a great race. Yeah, but I gotta be stronger. They do that fucking like side thing, like that trope, over and over again. I believe my main issue with this is something that they got a bunch of competent voice actors and animators to work on a script that was directed by an AI, because it stutters over itself and takes like key points of what people like and shoves it into a thing that it doesn't fit in, and it stutters and it just goes on, and it's just, and Shikoku, I'm late was like the beginning of the fucking thing.
It does begin with,
and they're in school, they're in horse girl school.
Well, here's the thing. This movie probably would have been perfectly fine if they cut out like the back half of the film,
sure,
and instead like actually stretched out, because the movie starts with like the inciting incident of like Pocket Jungle like committing to like being a racer, and then the opening credits are like speeding through her being introduced into horse girl school and like interacting with all these it's taking out the characterization, the stuff that would actually make you care about the shit that she's going
That's
through.
What they gloss over.
Like,
show me like how she, like, show me her struggling to adapt to the long distance running when she's like been doing freestyle all the time. Like how does she struggle as an athlete, and how does she deal with that as a person? Just like, it's like that's the good stuff.
And
yeah,
I want to say it's not just the good time hat thing, but it's also like, this is the kind of anime that you could have made me like. I hated that there was potential for something that I could have enjoyed, and they just didn't do it. It's not even that the subject matter sucked. It's that like you took this concept and it's not, you wrote it bad as a joke.
And the thing that ends up being like even more frustrating about it is feeds into the good parts of the film that you're talking about, Bridget, where like I do agree there's really cool moments of fucking animation during the racing. There's like a lot of really good shit in there. But if we are going to talk about appreciating the craft that is put into a film, it's fucking vital to admit when the final piece of art that you are being presented here ends up just undercutting the talent of the people that are working on it. Like, it goes into even like the discussion that I had on here about like Cyberpunk, where like Cyberpunk 2077 is a game that is less than the sum of its parts. Like, I think there are really good parts of that game, but it ultimately could have been far better. That's what this movie is. Like, this is a movie that could have been pretty good, but because everything is presented in the way that it is, it feels like if I were to just say that this is a good, this is where I'm going to say like the most cutting thing that I could say about this movie, and I apologize.
Wait, hold on.
Yes.
If that's going to be like, no, you go ahead and finish with your point.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't much of a point. It's going to be something that just sounds like an insult, but like, know that this is coming from like an art appreciation thing where like I want to, like, the same way as you, Evie, I would love to like this movie. If I were to just sit here and be like, oh yeah, the animation's really nice, that means this is a good movie, it would be the adult equivalent of like babies laughing and clapping at keys being jingled in front of your face. That
I could see that.
That is the thing that I have to say about this. Like, if Bridget, if you or anyone that is listening to this podcast were able to pull something of genuine substance away from this movie, that's okay.
It's very valid.
I can respect that you were able to pull something out of that. It's why, as we were watching this movie, I was doing my best to bite my fucking tongue to not say the things that I wanted to say about this movie, because I did not want to poison the well on Evie or Bree being able to enjoy this film as well. Like, it's why this movie is so frustrating.
Yeah.
And that's the end of that particular point.
Sure.
I want to talk about some stuff that I like about the movie.
Okay,
Sure, go for it.
I liked the Emperor of the Horse Girls, the
TM opera.
Yeah, TM opera. I thought they were like in the way that this movie seems to work, where like the horse girls like don't really get into direct conflict with each other all that much. Like she's positioned in a really fun way where she's like, yes, my rivals, like y'all need to be as good as you can be so that I look the best when I win. Like triumph over you. And like that is presented. Yeah.
She talks a lot of shit, however, she is undefeated, so...
Yeah.
She has the space to talk that shit.
Yeah, and like I think that's a cool thing. And I think like the segment where she's introduced like is one of the more like visually striking segments of the film. She ends with like the Seichu Sengo Danzuki pose. Like where she's just like punching towards the sky.
Yeah, apparently in doing my research for the film, you know, true to life, that horse was largely undefeated besides Jungle Pocket. However, it had the title given to her is a reference to Rao, so like in real life, she is considered like the Rao of horses. So.
I can believe it. Yeah,
that's fun. I like that.
Rao, the main villain from Fist of the North Star. So people,
right?
That's fair. Thank you.
Yeah, he has a horse, and like he fucks people up from on top of the horse. Anyway,
horse combo. Anyways,
horse combo. I do like a lot of the characters are like, even though like, you know, as I said earlier, they're pretty like, they feel pretty thinly sketched. Those sketches are fun. Like I do like Agnes Tachyon. I feel like they don't really get far enough into what her deal is for it to really feel like.
I'll say like I almost wish this movie, the main character of this movie, was Agnes Tachyon.
Yeah.
Like, she feels like more of a fully fleshed out character compared to like everyone else on that cast.
Like early on, she just feels like someone who she can do something good, but that's not her priority. Like, you know, she's good at running. She's really good at it, but she's not running to win.
And I think that's what makes her a more interesting character, because it's not that she's in it to win it. She's in it to push her body like as far as humanly or horsily possible. Like literally the whole arc of her character is she pushes herself so hard that she realizes like, oh, I'm starting to actually break my fucking foot doing these races. I need to stop. And I think that would make for like a more interesting like internal struggle for a character to go through. Like that ends up being the thing that makes how long this movie is and the arc of like Jungle Pocket so frustrating, because it spends so long for the ultimate like punchline to basically just be like the most generic like kind of sports main character narrative that person could go through. It's like, yeah, there is always going to be someone out there that's better than you.
Oh, yeah.
Like I know there's an everyman quality to that, but it's such a boring idea to work with, in my opinion.
It's really not original and feels only like the base concept behind something that requires more writing to be an entire thought, in my opinion.
Yeah. But Evie, go ahead and continue.
Oh yeah, it's strange how like Tachyon kind of falls out of the movie for like the back half of it, like in lieu of like this version of Tachyon that lives in Jungle Pocket's head that we don't really like
living rent free in her head, literally.
And like one scene in particular that I thought was really frustrating, and I think is like because like you had a moment where like it's like after Tachyon announces that she's not gonna race anymore, when Jungle Pocket goes to confront her in her like lab or whatever, and like you really have these two characters like talking about what drives them and like what their motivations are, like what's important to them, but like it feels like they're talking past each other about it. Like, yeah, where like Jungle Pocket's talking about how like, well, like I gotta like, we have to race so I can show you that I can be the strongest. Tachyon doesn't seem to acknowledge that. Tachyon has nothing to say about that. Like she talks about like why she's doing her thing, but she's never like, yeah, but we already raced and you lost.
Well, no, she does say that. She does tell her, the result. We've already done that. There's no need to.
But I get what Evie is saying, though. It feels less like an actual conversation between these two characters, and it feels like these characters just like being cardboard standees that like activate to like movement in front of them saying their character thing. Mm-hmm. Like, we know the deal with Jungle Pocket. She wants to be the strongest. You could have any character in front of her, and that is going to be her response of like, hey, I'm going to show you that I'm the strongest. And then you have the other side of that being Agnes Tachyon, who like you could have any character on the other side of her, and her response is going to be, we already know the results of that race. I won. Like, that's what makes it so frustrating, is it just feels like any character could be on the opposite side of that conversation and it would feel the exact same things would be getting said.
Yeah, and there's like, I think it was also part of that scene where like Tachyon was like, after Jungle Pocket already left the room, Tachyon's like, hey, like you could rely on my like expertise to help you out, and
I
stuff
could
like
get
that.
you juiced up on horse steroids.
Yeah, horse steroids. Or just like, and that sort of feeds into the whole thing where she's like, she sees like her cohort and thinks, oh, they can continue my work essentially.
Yeah.
But like, I would have liked to see like an actual conversation between them about that. Like,
yeah.
Where like because like Jungle Pocket wants to be the strongest. Agnes Tachyon wants to like exceed the limits of horsedom. Like,
more intrigued by the science of it.
Yeah, they have like similar goals, but like they never communicate and like figure that out.
Meanwhile, our main character is like, come on, no, I want to beat you even though I keep losing to you. You need to get over your foot injury, and I'm going to ignore that disability you now have, and you need to run it into the fucking ground so I can maybe win. Which is really shitty. Like, I was just like...
Now Bree will explain why morally Jungle Pocket is a bad character.
I've got like a wall of text that I feel like is best to say after we've gotten to like the end of the podcast, like, you know, but
as your closing thoughts.
Yeah, as my closing thoughts, because like we're kind of hitting all the notes I had written down, and it's all going to culminate into that. But
okay,
I'll put this here for now.
Go ahead, Bridget.
One last thing I like.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
Or two things. I mentioned it before, but the moment where, like, Jungle Pocket wins the race after, you know, Tachyon drops out and, like, she starts roaring. Like, I assume that's the thing that the horse did, where the horse would roar after
the horse,
after a race.
In fact, did roar every time it won.
I think that's fun. I like that. The other thing is I like the arc of, even though it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, I do like the arc of Jungle Pocket's like mentor figure.
Sure. Like
how she decides to pick up running again. Yeah, Fuji. And I think a thing that's very fun about Uma Musume, even if it does play more into like the whole like charm point mobage thing, I do like that every horse has their own sort of like they have their own special move, or like it's represented differently visually when they are like in their zone. Like Fuji, like it seems like they're sort of like a dancer, and so like there's a bunch of like spotlights that hit as like they sort of like strut their stuff, and like Tachyon just like Like
it's like a
it's like the Hadron Collider
melting. Yeah.
It's just
I would have
think
liked to see more.
that's very fun.
Yeah, I would have liked to see more characterization, like experimented on with that and show that more, because honestly, I feel like the Keijo anime does a better job of showing that kind of thing off, like really defining like the character's strengths. And it's like, work with this, do something with it.
Well, it all comes back to like the characterization outside of the races. Like it's what I was talking about when I was talking about like the animation may be nice, but there's nothing underneath that like makes that House of Cards stable.
Because like those moments really pop when you're invested in those moments. And
Yeah, which leads me to talk about the next So I found this movie so boring that I literally needed to give myself a spiritual cleanse over the last week of watching the entire David Lynch filmography. So I need to talk about him a little bit.
Go ahead.
Partially because since we last recorded, David Lynch passed away. Rest in peace to David Lynch.
One of the best auteurs.
Yes, go ahead, Evie.
I'm sorry. I do think this is a worthwhile thing to talk about. But did we have another question that needed to be answered?
There was. It can be more of a positive one. Like it will allow us to end this on a positive note.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna need
gotcha.
that.
I have two negative things to say about the film.
Sure, go ahead and say your negative things about the film, Bridget.
One negative thing is sometimes they cut between CG models in the background and those don't look as good. And then the other negative thing about the movie is like really, and I agree, like I feel like you probably could have cut 20 minutes like from the beach stuff. That stuff I feel like was just almost in there to like, hey, check out these other horses who are only here for like 2 seconds.
I literally got up and left the room during that part because I knew that part of the movie was not significant in any way whatsoever.
The 40-minute segment of all these different character building segments that didn't build character, you know. That's where I was like pressing on the temples of my head, having a panic attack of like, am I like in a solipsistic nightmare? What's happening?
Anyways, throwing it back to Bridget. Was that everything?
Yeah, those are the two negatives.
So
David Lynch.
Returning to David Lynch. So
I like how this is like in the middle of the fucking review instead of the
There's a point to this.
I would like you to allow me a Griffin Newman-esque like side tangent here because it does have a point that ties into this conversation.
Bridget doesn't listen to Blank Check. You're going to have to explain what that means.
Don't worry about it. Griffin Newman, he's a podcast host who will oftentimes have bizarre tangents that like vaguely relate to the movies.
So like Peter Griffin?
About. Shut up. So
another. I'm not trying to be mean, but I'm being very mean.
So David Lynch, rest in peace to David Lynch. He has passed away since the last time we recorded an episode. I spent the last week watching new films of his I had not seen yet. A thing with David Lynch and his movies is, though his films are less avenues for telling a deep narrative or presenting you with these fully fleshed out characters, but he's still able to, through the language of film, present you with ideas that are like difficult to button down with the usual like means of just a narrative or just the characters. And the thing with him is that arguably like the main reason he is able to excel in this is based on the level of craft that him and his crew bring into the films. But the thing, it's going back to the House of Cards thing, is like that's a good, nice roof to put on the top of that. But the fact of the matter is what makes those films engaging is that there are base level ideas that actually like bring that craft into fruition. Like, not necessarily like this is what it's about, but like there's a thing there for you to sink your teeth into. And like, I don't like sounding pretentious, but like, if we are to appreciate craft, then we need to talk about what the craft is like trying to accomplish, and whether that goal it's trying to accomplish is like worth our time as the audience. And at the end of the day, returning to the conversation of like the beach episode that's like slotted in there, or the festival episode that's slotted in there, the reason why I feel like in talking about this movie, I get frustrated, but at the end of the day, I can't feel any strong ire for this movie, is because this movie is just a commercial. This is just a film that is meant to like get you into the gacha games. They are showing you these horse girls in bikinis at the beach because, oh, eventually there's going to be like a character that I will pull, that I will get to see in those cute outfits. Or they're showing you them in their like kimonos because, oh, eventually I'll be able to pull them in that specific outfit. So you are being presented with a very lavishly produced commercial for this gacha game. And, you know, when I was first writing my notes on this, I typed out like, oh, I think this movie does a perfectly fine job of accomplishing its goal of being a lavish commercial. But the more I sat on it, the more I was like, I feel like this film even kind of fails at being a commercial, because like I described in talking about like the idol segment, I got to that part and I wasn't excited. I was like kind of low-key pissed off because I was like, no, you didn't do enough here to make me like have the fire inside me for these characters. Like, you only like alienated me from it. So like talking about like this film on the three kinds of main points that media can exist as, which is like entertainment, art, or commercial, I feel like this movie fails on all fronts. It fails as entertainment because of the experience that I described of watching this film. I got up and left at a section. Evie threw up her hands and asked like, how much longer is this movie? A movie has failed as entertainment if it draws that out of people, in my opinion.
I was having a panic attack, like feeling like I'm trapped in an overcrowded bus. I was just like, I can't, when is this gonna stop? Make it stop.
It fails as art because it did not feel like an enriching experience to my soul.
Yeah.
When I watched it, which is a lot to ask out of the thing, but it didn't do anything for me there. And it fails as a commercial because it didn't necessarily make me more invested in Uma Musume as a franchise. Like, I'm still at the same level that I was before I watched this film.
And you had the Idolmaster game. You were not like incapable of being sold to for the concept of one of those games.
Anyways. So
yeah.
So that is the end of the notes that I took on this movie.
For sure. But back on to the main discussion at hand, and it's something that I think you were actually pointing out, Jay, is that like David Lynch is really good at knowing how to like throw a pie, you know. And I think that a lot of auteurs feel like they need to make these serious and intense and sad fucking films, but they don't know how to have a little fun. But that helps draw you back in.
Well, I mean, that's going to David Lynch's entertainment. He succeeds as both an artist in like in the craft that he is making, but also as entertainment, because even when you don't get a David Lynch thing, you're still drawn into it. You're like, what the fuck is happening?
Every time I watch Eraserhead, I'm more fucked up by it. Like the opposite of diminishing returns, if you ask me.
This bit is good, but I actually want to give
okay, sorry,
Maybe.
right.
Go ahead.
Uma Musume.
Well, I think it's interesting to consider, like, Lynch made commercial. Like we watched a commercial he made for the PlayStation 2.
It's pretty good.
That's true. I didn't even consider that in my notes.
Yeah, it's just like he made commercials can have value. Like they can have like artistic
like
merit.
Jam.
That's not what I mean. But like,
That's a good movie.
It is.
actually, yeah, Space Jam's an alright movie.
Yeah,
Space Jam won in a fucked up way.
Space Jam is better than the Uma Musume movie. I'm gonna make a bold claim there.
Yeah, of course. What do you want from me?
Wait, hold on. How are you going to say that Uma Musume is a 4-star film, but Space Jam is better than it?
Well, things could be 4 stars in that category and better. You rank them different. You're not gonna...
What do you mean? This is why you need the new... You specifically, Bridget, need the nuance of a 0.5 star, because Uma Musume is a fucking 3.5 star film at its best points. It is not a 4-star film.
Anyway. Yeah, and I think like even if this is like a commercial for a gacha, and I think you're right in saying that it is. I think there is still value to it, and I think there is some value in it. You know, I don't think it's a complete loss. Like even if like look, I had that same reaction while we were watching Freddy Got Fingered, as mentioned earlier, and like that's just a thing I do, where it's just like I cannot keep track of how long a movie has been going and how long is left in it. But like,
And bless you for that, because you always make me smile.
I'm glad to make you smile. I think this movie is a commercial, but I think, you know, I think there is worth in it, even if it's
For sure. I mean,
doesn't
it's
really work.
It's why I like, not to get into like numerical like ratings and stuff and those being the ultimate qualifiers. It's why ultimately this movie is like 2 out of 5 for me. Like I think this is a film that has like a lot of potential. I think it is a movie that has moments of really cool fucking animation to it. I think that there are like the outlines of engaging characters in there. I just feel like the end product of it like is ultimately a soulless experience. Like that is the big that's why it's so frustrating talking about it, because like I genuinely don't like being this hard on things, but like it is the one movie that we've watched so far where there's like aside from X 1999, it's the one movie we've watched so far that feels like there is no fire in its soul. Like I watched this movie and it was just you laugh, Bridget. I'm being like dead fucking serious right now. Like there is no spark in this movie that like brought genuine emotions out of me.
I think there's sparks in X too, but
that ends up being the thing that makes this movie even more frustrating to talk about. Is at the very least, X 1999 made me angry in the moment. This movie didn't even do that. Like,
I think where the fire in this movie is, I think it's in the animation. I think that's where you see people working on this thing and like loving what they're doing. I think that is conveyed when it is at its most like visually interesting and like striking. That's one of those things where it's just like you have to be like, the craft.
Yeah,
I really want to see the voice actors and animators work on something else.
Yeah, like that ends up being like, that's the other thing that makes it frustrating, is just like you see those races and some of the shit that like happens in there animation wise, and you're like, God, I wish I fucking cared about these characters, because if this were a thing that I actually gave a shit about,
it would pop.
Like it would pop so fucking hard, but there's nothing there.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing these like beautiful moments of like the moments where you can see like the Devilman Crybaby and like Promare like animation style like really coming through, like those moments where like Pocket Jungle is like starting to really get into her groove and moving. It's like that profile shot where like you see like the colors are starting to like blend together and everything, like that is where the momentum is like being depicted, but there's nothing behind it, so it just feels like whatever. So that ends up being where I keep returning to, because yeah, I do agree with you, Evie. I think the fire is in like the pure animation craft, but without anything behind it, it goes back to the jingling keys in front of a baby's face type thing.
I feel like that's a little infantilizing.
I cannot.
It's why I said it was
wait to show you the Raggedy Ann movie and then just have the most. This is a repeat of this.
I'm looking forward to it. So before we go into like the question, the positive question that I want to end this on, to like at least make this not a fully negative conversation. Does anyone else have like other like little nitpick things that they're wanting to say?
I only have my final thoughts at this point.
Okay, for sure. So we had one more question from noted YouTube video essayist Ricky Hirsch
And Horse Girl Enjoyer.
and
Yes,
Horse Girl
who has
Enjoyer.
also seen this movie.
Ricky, I'm so sorry for this conversation.
I wish we had more to
Ricky,
give
the
you.
movie's good. Don't believe the lies.
Don't believe their lies.
Ricky, I'm sorry for this conversation. They ask, were this movie built out into a series, what would you most want to see expanded on? And I kind of go back to that thing that Evie was talking about, which is like that relationship between like Agnes and Pocket Jungle, like being able to see them like not just simply as like people talking past each other, but like people trying to bring out the best of one another. Like the movie tries to get there, but just ultimately it doesn't really get there because they don't have real full interactions between the two of them.
Expand the Boncho crew.
I don't know what that means.
The three girls who are always there cheering, like, they refer to Fuji as boss lady. And, like, it's, like, kind of implied that maybe Jungle Pocket was up to no good, but, like, it's just vaguely hinted at.
Sure. That's the thing that you're saying you would like to see expanded on?
I mean, I would like Manhattan Cafe and Dentsu Flame to be given more time, because realistically this movie has like 4 characters at most. It has the trainer, Fuji, Takion, and Jungle Pocket.
Yeah.
And how many of them were in the end sequence?
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. The trainer-san should have been dancing up there.
That would have been great.
Yeah.
See,
That would have made it.
I would have at least gotten a laugh out of the ending if, like, in the shots of, like, the audience, you see the trainer, like,
Let
doing,
the
like, the
trainer
glow
dance.
stick thing, being like, oi!
I want to like, and God, and like, actually, that is one more thing that I should point out too, is that like, that the thing that really insulted me more about that ending sequence is that like
This is supposed. Wait, no. This is supposed to be a positive thing. You could say this like when you're going over final notes.
Okay, all right.
What would you most want to see expanded on?
I think Tachyon had the most unravelable, interesting things going on. Also, she made me remember that Death Grips exists, which is a thing that I enjoy. And so that, you know, I was just like, Tachyon in my head, and I'm like, yeah, I'm having a good time. Oh, right, I'm watching this anime. So yeah, no, I don't know. Like she had as much character as anyone can in that, and I would have liked to see more on that. But
For sure.
again, if any of them had time to be developed in this sense, then it would have been, you know.
Evie.
Yeah. I mean, just like, I would just like to see more characterization. You know, I would like to see, you know, Densetsu Flame and Manhattan Cafe. I would like to see more about what their stuff is. I'd like to see Jungle Pocket kind of like, she starts being like, I'm going to be the strongest. And like, I would like to see more of, hey, what does that mean to be the strongest when, one, being the strongest in horse racing, like, horse racing is not about being the strongest, it's about being the fastest. And 2, you are definitely not the fastest person here. So like, what is, like, I want to see more of that. And like, I wanted to see more of like her journey figuring that stuff out.
And then the second part to the question for Murky is also obligatory: who is the best horse? We know Brie and I's answer is Tachyon.
Yeah.
Bridget, who do you think is best horse?
I mean, I'm Jungle Pocket, but I admire Fuji.
For sure. Fuji does look like Makoto from Idolmaster, and Makoto's my girl. Like, Makoto is the person that I see, like, the slam dunk intro of, and I'm like, yeah, let's fucking go. Evie?
I want to root for Jungle Pocket more, even though I am most interested in Tachyon. But, like, there was, like, one incidental horse girl that I really liked who, like, had a cool jacket. And she was just, like, in the crowd once.
Yes.
Oh, and also there was the one horse girl who is, like, I fucking forget her name, but, like, she was mentioned by name and she shows up in the race scenes, like, constantly over, like, the first, like, 2/3 of the movie, and she always loses. She never says a single line. I felt so bad for her.
She's, like, dressed up like she's in, like, the Takarazuka review, but, like...
Yeah, she looks like she's captaining a steamboat.
But she exists in a lot of the races, but just,
she's basically there to... She's your jobber. Yes. She is your Yamcha, who's there to just get fucked up by the rest of them. Well, I guess with that, final thoughts. I feel like I've talked too much about my general thoughts of this movie. It's very disappointing. I wish that I could have liked this film more. It has a lot of potential for good things, but ultimately it was just such a boring experience that I felt practically nothing for this film. Bree, final thoughts?
Shikoku, I'm late. I have to get to Horse Girl School. Beach episode, kimono episode. I want to be the best. Idol scene. I want to be the strongest. This film exhausts every cliche and earns none of them. Because of the gacha game subject matter, none of these girls were given any character whatsoever. I compared this to the quote-unquote anime someone is watching in the background of a Western show to tell you that they're an otaku. And hang on, I have a metric to back this up. When a gacha game property robs its cast by its very form of having any real character like this, and whittles itself down to nothing but tropes, anime becomes an insensitive parody of itself. That being said, if you made this anywhere but Japan, it would be racist. That's my final thought.
Bree somehow managing to be meaner than I was during this conversation in that final thought. This is why I had you go before Bridget. Bridget, give us your final thoughts on this movie.
This movie's great. I've seen it at least 3 times now, and what do you mean? I suggested the movie. Of course,
I didn't even I usually will rewatch movies.
I know
to
you
make
weren't
sure
gonna rewatch it. There is no way.
Please let me finish my point, which is that I was going to say usually I rewatch movies to get more from my notes. I didn't even, like, touch this movie after we watched it the first time. I was in and out and done. Anyways.
No foul. Put your hands up.
Bridget, so you've watched this movie 3 times.
Yeah. I think it has really neat animation. Obviously, it won't be for everybody.
Fans of the genre.
Fans of the genre might enjoy.
I can't believe you actually gave this the IGN, like, 8.0. There's a little bit of something for everyone.
There's a little
review.
bit of something for everyone. At least doing this movie has freed me in a way. I feel like shackles were released, and I am more willing to do weird ass pics that maybe no one will like.
Yeah. I am glad to hear that.
So is that what your, like, mindset has been for most of this podcast so far, is being like, I guess I should pick things that people are gonna like.
She's been very worried about picking stuff that
I
people like.
have.
Sweetie.
I didn't pick this movie because I thought people would hate it. This was my attempt at picking something.
You said that you knew I wouldn't like this movie.
I knew you wouldn't like it, like, you know, in the same way as, like...
You thought that there would at least be, like, a base level enjoyment to this movie. Okay. Gotcha.
But that's fine. It just means, you know... I'm not going to say it. I've already had my final pick set in stone, and Evie knows of it. And she confirmed with me that it's okay.
I mean, I don't want to put the reactions of the entire podcast on my shoulders.
No, you're my partner in the crime. You
I didn't sign up for that.
Bridget, you were literally just saying how this freed you, but you're back to relying on another person for
it freed me, but I also, you know, as long as
we
I
gotta
get...
stand by our crimes.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, you need you need to be willing to stand by your crimes without the justification of Evie saying it's okay.
I guarantee you the next thing I am picking is something I wholeheartedly love with all of my heart, and I'm sorry.
Okay, it's The Wind in the Willows. Got it. Evie, what are your final thoughts about this movie?
This movie is, I think there is stuff to like in it, but it is, at the end of the day, I think it's a miss. I'm interested in watching that other season of Uma Musume that people apparently like, because I would like a horse girl thing that works.
Like that horse to work.
Yeah, I want a working horse. Girl,
I sure hope it does.
You know, our podcast has a lot of horses in it, like milking them and like them raised.
Let Evie finish her thought, please.
I mean, it's just I'm glad I watched it at the end of the day, but you know, I didn't love it.
For sure. Well, Evie, it's time.
What's the connection?
What are you feeling? What you picking? Where are you taking us?
Well, here's the thing. It's time for me. Like, this is the penultimate cycle.
Yeah.
It's time to spend those. Wild cards.
Yeah.
So connections, get the fuck out of here. No.
All right. We're pushing the books off the table and crooketing backward our chair, and we're throwing out the preconceived expectations. What do you got?
Unfortunately, this I will not be completing the anime circuit with an anime, but I have two pieces of independent animation that I'm interested in checking out, but I want to leave the final selection up to y'all. Do you want to pick Team Light or Team Dark? Team Light, Team Dark.
Do you want to be a Grinch?
Would you like to be a saint, or would you like to be a Grinch?
Team Light,
please.
Team Dark.
Why, motherfuckers? Why are you making me be the tiebreaker?
You took too long.
Okay, take me to Team Light because I wanna have a positive end to this cycle.
That's what I thought you were going to do, and so I switched them in my mind.
No!
So we are going to engage in the lightness of parkour as we go to Minecraft But I Survive in Parkour Civilization full movie by Evbo.
What? What is that?
Minecraft But I Survive in Parkour Civilization full movie by Evbo. The story of a young lad who is in parkour civilization.
All right.
Every morning you can either jump for the chicken or the beef. No one ever jumps for the beef because it's not worth falling to your death or just like a little bit more hunger bar filled up. So people always jump for the chicken.
Yeah. Cinema's back, baby. Fuck horse girl. Cinema's back.
And because we're operating on Price is Right rules, I'm going to show you what was in door number 2, what you could have had if you chose Team Dark. The other thing was I wanted to watch Barbara Westchester, which is a film created by independent animator Joni Phillips. And it is about a youth who grows up in a home where like they grow up amongst like a weird religious cult, but they dream of being like an astrologist, astronomer. Sorry, astrology is the fake one. Astronomer. And so they finally are able to get a job at NASA, and their first day, the person at NASA reveals to them, "Oh no, the sky's fake. All of that's not real."
That was interesting.
And so they have to figure out what to do after it, what to do with their life after that.
For sure.
This movie's amazing. Holy 2 hours.
But that's not what we're watching. We're watching Minecraft But I Survive in Parkour Civilization full movie.
See you there, everyone.
Holy shit. Hey, wow. Bree, where can they find you on the internet?
Hey, everyone. You can find me at twitch.tv/EasyBreezyTV. That's EAZYBREEZYTV. You can also find me at Snesbo on anywhere, like newgrounds.com. I got my Snesbo account there. I got that on I got it on Blue Sky. You can link to my card where all of my links are, but pretty much wherever.
Okay. Bridget, where can they find you on the internet?
I'm on Blue Sky, I guess, and Twitch at Twitch TV /Sasquatchless, I think.
She did it! She said it right!
I don't know the streaming index, but yeah, remember, oh man, now that Evie's picked that, at some point we have to watch the fan remake of RoboCop.
We'll get to it. That'll be a bridge we cross when we get there.
Yeah, it's not going to be next time. I already know it. I've locked it in because I've conferred with my partner Evie.
Yes, I know you picked Wind in the Willows. Okay, Evie, where can they find you on social media if they want to find you on social media? If you want to allow them to find you.
I'm in the depths of hell, and I'll be waiting.
Right. Sounds good. Similarly, I am also in the depths of hell and I will be waiting. I'm not going to tell you where to find me on social media. But you can find the podcast at putontheList.bsky.social. You can find us at putontheList.neocities.org. You can find us on YouTube at Wife City Productions on youtube.com. You can download the podcast anywhere major podcasts are sold. Leave us a comment. Leave us a 5-star review. Share us with your friends.
Give us 5 stars because I gave the horse movie 4 stars.
You rated it the same as the last thing we watched.
As the first Slam Dunk.
Yeah, that's wrong.
It's wrong.
No, I'm right. Anyways, what is in... What was I going to say? I was going to say something.
Powerful.
You were just trying to get out of this episode as quickly as possible.
No. What was I going to say?
Love. Maybe
I don't know. The thought bird took it.
Okay.
Brought
to you by Thoughtbird. Download it on your phone. 10% off for people who use code P and put it on the list.
What I was going to say is that, just for the record, you'll have to figure out other means to watch this movie. Anyways.
It's so funny that you say that like within the last 30 seconds of the podcast.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Nay! I say nay! This podcast is longer than X, so that by default it's better than X.
What we've used connected by cast or crew, deciding the next film, that's the gist. Put it on the list.
As I was saying,
I have to pee. I'll be right back.
Actually, wait. Let's actually take a time out because I need to pee too. Sorry, Evie.
How you doing, Bree?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Doing okay. Hey, you want to have the Evie minute here?
Yeah,
Walter,
sure. Let's go.
Yeah, let's have the EV Minute.
Featuring Bree. All right.
Yeah, featuring Bree. As first time having a guest on the EV Minute, I'm excited.
Hi,
I'm
everyone.
excited
How's
to
it
have
going?
Bree here.
Yeah, I'm from Wife City. You can find me VTubing on Easy Breezy TV over on Twitch. What are my other socials? I have this podcast called Put It on the List. I'm really happy to be on the EV Minute. How you doing, Evie?
I'm doing great. The EV Minute is an impromptu show that is recorded kind of when there's a moment. So I didn't really have a plan as to what we should talk about.
For sure. So we're just kind of freeballing it. That's okay.
Yeah, I'm just kind of freeballing it. Yeah. I hope you're excited for my selection later in the show.
I really am excited to hear when that comes up. Like I've been thinking about it. Like I'm really looking forward to it. It's been on a lot of people's minds. What is Evie going to pick?
Yeah, I've made a decision as we've been on the call, and I think it's going to be very exciting.
All right, that's going to be great.
Awesome.
Oh, hey, they're back.
Yeah,
I'm always happy to be able to hear the EV Minute from afar. Okay, so
As we were
talking about commercials.
Looks like something
That was a panicked leaving. All right, it's EV Minute Part 2.
Oh shit. Okay. Yeah. I was telling Bree. I decided what I'm going to do for my choice. While we've been on the call, and I am very excited for it. I think it's going to be unlike anything we've ever seen in the podcast so far, and I'm very stoked to hear what everyone has to say about it.
At this point, I'm very on board with mixing it up.
Okay.